Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartley here today, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Gord the Killer Watts, also known as the Swan. This man has a very special life story. Obviously, professional fighter, bare knuckle fighter. He's competed in other styles as well. But what I love about this man's message, today's guest, is his raising of awareness for ADHD. Um, God has a massive social media following, and he's always putting positive messages out there about how you can turn your life around, how you can channel your energy and your aggression, use it constructively, always giving advice and being a positive role model for so many people. So, as always, today's show is not just about fighting, but we're going to be going deeper into some other topics as well. So, mate, thank you for coming on the show, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for that. That means so much. It's so positive and really nice to hear, and it means I'm doing well. So thank you. I'm doing what I set out to do, which is get awareness and be change ADHD into a positive light. You know, and try and maybe help some vulnerable kids. From the medication or from the effects of having ADHD.
Absolutely. I love that. Like I say, I mean, all the stuff you're putting out on your social media, brilliant, top class. So we will be talking about your story. We'll be talking about fighting. We'll be talking about how you got into it and everything. But before we get into all of that stuff, I want to sort of go back in time a little bit, talk about your earlier life, like where you're originally from.
Yeah.
And really, the start of your journey with like when you found out you've got ADHD and how it first affected you in those early years.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1989 in Runcorn, One Hedge Hay. That was where my father and my mother lived with my two siblings, my sisters, Elder, Melissa and Natalie. And we lived there happily till just before I was 5, and my mum ended up meeting somebody else. And my dad ended up having a breakdown, and we went into care. And then, my mum got involved with drugs and stuff like that. My dad hit the ball, and before before I just turned 5, just after I turned 5, just before my 6th birthday, December, she was due to go into rehab the next day, and I'd seen her that day in the care in the contact centre in Rill. And that evening, it was she died. She took a bang to the head. Um, Crazy amounts of drugs in the system, and it had been proven that she'd been left. So it's very tragic circumstances around my mother's death, and it broke the family, like it ripped the family. And we went into care, me and my sisters, and we got split up a lot. Um, yeah, and then my dad kind of got his, like, he got his back, but not properly and stuff. And then he took us once, and they found us. And then my auntie, the first memory I have of her was her voice saying, "Gordon, let's take the kids." And he like barricaded up the stairs to the main door of our flat, and it was all flashing lights outside. We were really young, me and my sister Natalie. Melissa wasn't with us. She was somewhere else. I don't know if she was in care or with other members of the family or what. But my dad said, "Okay, I'll let the kids out." And then I went out with Natalie, and I went with my auntie Myra, and Natalie went with my auntie Linda, and didn't see my dad for a while. And my auntie Myra, when I got there, pretty soon after, she thought there's something wrong with him, me and myself. And then she took me to see this Dr. Kieran Lynch in Argyle Road Clinic, Llandudno, Argyle Clinic, yeah, Argyle Road. And they said there was nothing wrong with me. I've been through a lot of early trauma and all that. I've got all my medical history. I've only just found this out recently. Since I've got older, I wanted to know what was going on with me. Pardon me. And yeah, I found out the first ever hour and a half assessment they had of me. They said there was nothing wrong with me. I'm a child of average ability, everything's fine, but come back in a year's time, you know, but there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't need child guidance therapy and all that or whatever. You know, I have been through trauma, and that is like in my emotions when I'm speaking to them one to one, when I'm crying, I'm getting upset about my mum, my dad, my sisters. But I'm happy and I'm positive about my new family, you know. And then she referred me back constantly over that year. And then they trialed me and tested me on this Ritalin for 10 years. And I said no very fast, you know. It stumped my growth. It made me feel not myself. I was always like feeling dirty, and I could start hearing things and thinking really anxious things. I wouldn't eat. Food became an enemy, and I just got bullied really bad. And I went in myself. I started twitching. I'd be tensing that hard. I'd nearly poo myself. You know, I'm just going to share how it was. And then I'd be going back to this clinic, and they'd be yanking on my balls, mate. It was awful. You know, no one listened to me. No one listened to me. I didn't want these. These were horrible things, you know. And I was taking, they kept up and up and up in the dose, and I was thinking there's something wrong with me. And I was going, I'll try it this way, I'll try it that way, I'll do it this way. And they were just manipulating me to take these drugs that they didn't really. I was an experiment, really, I feel, you know, or if not even that, you know, just stick them on them and they'll shut them up. Whereas I didn't have my loved ones, I thought they were, but, you know, it's mad what people do. It's mad what people do. You know, I would never condole it. And that's why I made my message. Listen to the kids first and foremost. It's fucking sick, you know, pardon my language. If the kid says no, you wouldn't keep putting them on a roller coaster over and over and over again, would you? Every single fucking day for fucking 10, 12 years. So yeah, I went to live with my mother from like 7 to like 15, and she was enforced these tablets on me. And then I went into care, and they were enforcing them, you know, because it's the care system. And then I come out of care to my nan, and my auntie Myra would always be shooting round to my nan's, making sure I've had my fucking tablets. And then I went back to care, and then I got kicked out of care, and I went mental and went to prison. When I landed in prison, I didn't have to take tablets. So I thought, I'm just going to stay here for a bit. You know, it was scary at times in there. You know, I'm not that sort of a person, but I had to be to get away from them tablets. So I went to a dark place, you know, and them tablets are the main, you know, I'm in the light now, and I'm doing well, I'm happy and full of joy, and I want to help and get this message out there. Yeah, so I found myself in prison more or less. I've come home now and I'm fighting.
Well, first of all, champ, I gotta say, what an amazing story in terms of how you've overcome everything you've overcome to be the man you are today and
Thank
to
you.
be doing the good work you are today. As well as that, I've also got to say massive respect to you because putting something like that out there in public, I mean, I know it's something you do anyway, but it's a brave thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Because
Thank
it's quite
you.
personal. So I got mad respect for that. And yeah, I mean, I heard this thing a long time ago. Somewhere about medication where this guy was saying what should be the last resort
Yeah,
become the first response, you know. So in other words, rather
well,
than
yeah,
trying
that's
like,
exactly the correct
yeah,
words, yeah.
yeah, and this is the thing, rather than trying all these other things and then doing that if they absolutely have to,
Yeah,
they just got to, and I've heard it from so many people, friends of mine, you know, good mates of mine, one or two people in my extended family been through this as well. But even there's famous people, like even when I've worked with Frank Bruno in the past, you know, the boxer
yeah.
Frank Bruno, he talks about this. They put him on the meds, and he said
That's it.
the meds made him more, you know, lose it more than
Yeah,
what it was
you lose the plot. I ended up having psychosis from it.
yeah.
Psychosis for 10 years. I was in prison, punching doors, steel door. You know, I lost the plot. I lost the plot, mate. You know, I'm lucky to be here now back. I'm still not there. I'm still a long way. Still got a hell of a journey to go. You know, I'm learning every day, growing. I have my days, you know, where I have to shut myself off from the world. You know, it's hard to live with ADHD as it is. Never mind being medicated through all that, through young again. And I truly believe I didn't need those tablets in any way, shape, or form.
No, this is the thing.
No,
Yeah. So,
amphetamine based. Sorry, they are
no,
amphetamine based. Like they're illegal to possess.
yeah,
Like that's a drug. It's a controlled drug, like whatever banned substance, and you're gonna give it to infants.
yeah.
It's shocking.
It is shocking.
Yeah,
So I want to ask you about this then, because you've been through this roller coaster, with your ADHD and everything.
yeah,
And personally, I think that these things, all of these things, dyslexia, autism, ADHD, whatever, all on the spectrum. I had some very similar experiences in school, by the way, just so you know that, so I can totally relate to where you're coming from.
yeah,
But
man.
the thing with this is, at what point did you start seeing actually this is a positive, this is something I can use for my life? I can actually see the upside of this, if you
Yeah,
get what I mean.
I've always knew from young that I was very sporty. I've
Yeah,
always knew that. It'd be like whenever I was on my tablets, I didn't enjoy it, but I'd still perform to a good level. But I didn't enjoy it. And, and there's a difference in enjoying what you do and not enjoying what you do. But I would do it because it's the most enjoyable thing I can find to do. And it weren't the same when I was on my tablets. It was horrible, really. But I would do. That's what I wanted to do, and I could do it, but not to the. I knew I could have probably went a lot further or done a lot better. And when I went to prison, I really excelled in these things. My weight training, my football, I was always on all the teams. You know what I mean? I'd always end up in all the sports competitions down the gyms, and I'd always be coming up right at the top. And I was very strong, very fit. Because I would pack on just muscle. So I don't know why they would give me these things that would hold me back. You know, it
yeah,
was just awful. It's awful for being a sporty person who loves the sports and running, fighting, and being just because I didn't fit in morally or ethically or whatever, or they wanted me to be just, I don't know. It would just, yeah, it's just not right. Yeah, I've always knew I would have done something sporty, and that would be good for me with my ADHD.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
very young.
this is a good point that you've made there, by the way. Not to go off topic, because we'll get into the fights and all that now, but just I really feel in the education system, in schools and everything, there's like this one size fits all. Like if you're like the academic type of person and all this,
Yeah,
they'll sort of work with you,
yeah, it'll work well with you. I was
but not anything
alienated
else.
in school. I was made to feel an alien.
This is the thing. I mean, because if you're creative, if you're sporty, if you're so one of those people who's good with your hands, making things, or any of that other stuff. And I think there's different ways of, different ways people learn,
Yeah,
different talents people have, and even when I was in school, I could remember everything everybody said, and it was all going in up here fine, but
yeah,
because I'm dyslexic and everything, writing it down was like just a pain in the ass, right?
yeah,
Even
terrible,
with
man.
even with something like that, I was just, they just ostracize you and reject you. And the thing is,
Bad,
when you're
isn't
a kid,
it?
yeah, it's bad. It's humiliating when you're a kid, And
Awful.
so, okay, so then you went to prison, obviously, but at that time, it sounds like it was really the thing that sort of saved your bacon, for want of a better
It
term.
did.
How long were you in there, if you don't mind me
Well,
asking?
I went in and out of prison quite a lot.
Yeah,
So I ended up getting 4 years for stealing cars, breaking into hotels and B&Bs and guest houses and fighting on the street and robbing them. So I got done for robbery, burglaries, and theft of motor vehicles, and I got 4 years on a guilty plea by Mervyn Hughes. And he didn't like me one bit. This judge, he said, "I fucking you're not a danger, you're a menace." He called me a menace. He said, "You're not a danger, you're a menace, and they're not a danger, but they are a problem." So go there for 4 years. And I got extra days when I was away for fighting and weapons and stuff, like shanks. I was a fucking disturbed young man. And I come home 2 years, 2 months later, and I wasn't home long. I was straight back in for the same sort of things. I
Yeah.
got 3 years. I got back out 20 months later. I weren't out long, but I knew I didn't want to do this stuff. But I was still very troubled, and I got 7 years then for another robbery. And he said, "Look, you fucking been here twice for this now. I could give you life." And I said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." It's not the way it looks. I'm fucking easily led, and I'm the only one here. Please give me a chance. I'm sorry, and I fucking admitted my parts in my crimes. And he gives, "I'm giving you a chance here. You go down now, you're going down now for 7 years. Yeah, but it starts today." So I had to serve 4 years. I served 4 years. I got out. I was out for a year, but I weren't prepared in any way, shape, or form for the outside world. I couldn't cope. I was having breakdowns every 2 minutes. But I weren't on no tablets. But then my aunties were coming round and they were trying to give me tablets and stuff. And I was trying to take them, and they were just knocking me straight out. These were all downers. They weren't amphetamines. These were like Valium, quetiapine, hydrazine, propanolol, lorazepam. All these are just heavy drugs that were like tranking me. And then I'd come round and I'd be going even madder. I weren't ready, and I still had all these evil things around me, these evil people around me. Like I didn't know. Yeah, and then I went back to prison on a recall. So they said, "You're not fit to be out. You're not well. You're unmanageable in the community." They sent me back for another 2.5 years. In that 2.5 years, I knew what I had to come back out to. And I better prepared myself. I was still like, it's still a big, massive ordeal getting back out after the 2.5 years. But, I've managed, and I've been back now 4 years in June, and I'm no probation, not even a fine on me, mate, nothing. I'm an advocate of ADHD, and I want to inspire and reach and help, and my story help others, and they won't have to go through the dark path that I went through.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, because it's nothing to be big or clever or proud of. I'm very ashamed of my past, but it is my past, and I have to take accountability for it, and I have, you know.
Absolutely. Well, again, massive respect for overcoming it, because that type of thing is a cycle. When you going in and you're out and you're in and out, people never get out of it. So we'll talk
Tablets.
about yeah, we'll talk about the fights now. I want to ask you though, a couple of things. Like, if you had to give advice now for people, and I know you do this a lot, who are going through any aspect of that situation, whether it's on the medication and how to
Yeah,
get it, or whether it's on like the crime stuff and you're hanging out with the wrong people and you've got the wrong people around you,
yeah.
that's a big problem. People who are going through this stuff, what would you say to those people watching this, if they're like in like where you used to be, type of thing?
Like some people, they're not gonna find it big and cool to hear what I'm gonna say. So you gotta take yourself away from these cool kids. Yeah, stop selling the drugs and stop smoking the weed and stop. It starts off with petty stuff like smoking. Do you know what I mean? And then it goes to stealing, and it gets into fighting, and then they come together, stealing, fighting, and drugs. You know what I mean? It just spirals out of control. So these are the signs. They're the signs. Get in the gym. If you want to fight, get in the gyms, martial arts gyms. If you want to fight, do it that way. This is the way to do it, where everyone will give you the recognition and the cheer for it, and you get a sense of fulfillment and achievement, other than looking over your shoulder for the police, getting fines, you get paid, you know, going to prison, you go on holiday, you know, it's different. It's a different sort of thing. You meet lovely people, you meet horrible people, you know. You want to meet the toughest and the most respected people. They're out here. They're not in there. You never be anybody in prison. And if you're on the tablets and you can't see a light out, you know, just keep speaking to people who you think have got a good pure heart, and tell them what you're going through, and open up to them. You know, tell them what they're making you feel like. And you've got to be strong now. You've got to be strong. And as I know you are strong, you might not feel it, but it will end one day, and you will know then how strong you actually are, you know. So believe me, you're strong. You just speak about it to as many people as you can, and hopefully they take notice.
Love that. Absolutely love the message. I mean, I knew it would be a good answer, but that's a really, really good answer. And what I always say, you know, when I'm doing these interviews is if it touches even one person, if it makes a difference, even
That's it.
you know, we've done our job, if you get what I mean. And I love how you put this out there, just straight from the heart.
Making me emotional.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, though, you know,
Yeah.
because look, this is the thing. When I have people on these interviews and when I talk to people like yourself and a lot of people who've been through situations, I don't believe that people are defined by things that have happened to them. What I mean by that is when I'm looking at you, I'm not seeing this, you know, this guy who's like an ex-con and he's done all these things and I'm not seeing that.
Thank you.
I'm actually seeing a person who's got a good heart and, you know, you've got good intentions because when you meet people and they really are bad people, if you want to call it like that, and they don't feel any remorse and they don't feel any issue with what they've done and they don't have the empathy for people, and
Yeah, man.
it's a very, I mean, you will have seen people like that when you were in there, and it's, you know, it's a very
Yeah.
different type of thing than somebody who has a few impulse control problems. I'm not condoning anything that happened because I can't do that either, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we're not defined by things that happen to us. And the thing I've heard with this is I know that maybe those people wanted what's best for you in a way, but there's an element of betrayal here. I can hear where you sort of felt like people were sort of stabbing you in the back, like the people
Yeah.
that you thought were there for you. And
Yeah. And this is,
as a
I got
kid,
told I was bad a lot, you know, I
yeah,
made it feel like I was bad. So I embraced it in the end. I went, you want to see bad? What have you been doing to me all this time? And I ended up like managing to keep my tablets in my throat and then bringing them up. But by the time I'd done that, they'd half dissolved anyway, you know, and sometimes I hadn't quite got it, but I was getting better at it. And then they changed them to these capsules and they lasted with slow release. And then in the end, I fucking went mental, but I was like 17 and I was a lot bigger, but I was still really small for my age and that. But I was very crazy, you know, and they didn't know how to control me, so they just let me fucking run out the door, sort of thing.
mm,
And then the real bad trouble started then, you know, and it's because I was made to feel like I was bad, and then I was in a real bad environment all the time, and it just I ended up in jail, and I was very lost.
yeah,
But there's not ADHD is not mean you're bad. It does not mean you're bad. And that's the label, the worst one, you know, like it's, you know, it's the label is a bad. The kid is bad. That is just the worst label. It's sad.
it's the worst thing you could do because what people don't realize is when you're a kid, you know, you're like a sponge. I mean, you're just soaking all this stuff up, and you
I'm
know,
telling you.
whether people tell you you're good, you're bad, you're this, you're that, they could tell you anything. They could tell you you know you're pink and purple. They could tell you whatever. When you're a kid, you listen to them and you soak
Well,
it up,
yeah,
and it can mess you up. I mean, it can really, and I think labeling a kid,
molded into something you're not
yeah,
overskirt, and it's hard to mold back. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah. It's like even with yourself, I can sort of see this like peeling back the layers, and
Mm,
you're getting to the person that you really are, not the
yeah,
person people made you to be or said that you were, and that's a
yeah.
big thing.
I was that. I'm responsible for them things, and yeah, I can't. I do put it down to all the medication and what's going on and that, because I'm not behaving in that manner in any way, shape, or form now. People are like, that's easy cop out, whatever, and I'll be like, but it's not easy cop out, is it? It's not. It's not. It was abuse of the highest order towards a child. You
Yeah,
get medication again for so long. Psychosis is the only outcome. If I'm just lucky that I can give this message with yourself. Thank you as well.
you're welcome. I mean, it's my pleasure. And like I'm saying it, like I was saying just now, I mean, with the things you were doing and things like that, yes, okay, I'm not condoning that because wrong is wrong. But what I'm saying is the intentions behind things, the reasons why people do stuff. There's what
Yeah,
someone's done, and then there's why they've done it. And I just think that both things have got to come into it.
yeah.
Just so we don't go off track, I meant to ask you with the psychosis and everything, and then we'll get to the fighting in a minute. But with that, I mean, how do you recover from something like that? I've seen psychosis firsthand with people in my extended family, so I know well, I mean, not many people come back from that. So, if you don't mind me asking, how did you sort of get your mind back to being in a good sort of level?
Um, I'll say my training saved me in prison. I'm a football, and um, ADHD. We got a hell of a will on us. We've got a hell of a determination and will. And we got some energy, and you know, I think at times I thought, when I look back now, there's times I think I don't know how I'm at it here now, but I can see where the progression over it might seem like you're not moving forward without these tablets, but I tell you, over time, if these kids are put on these tablets and then they take them off for 2 weeks and they say, oh, they're still being naughty, banging back on him, they're being on them for 2 years straight. There's no fucking way on earth they're gonna get their head together in fucking 2 years even. They need 4, 6 years after that prolonged period of that on them, to find themselves again, to come through all the effects after it. They might just have now started lashing out because they don't understand the emotion. They weren't lashing out before them though, but they wouldn't sit still. But now they're lashing out. So this is different now because this is where you get sent to prison. You don't get sent to prison for running around and screaming your head off. You get pushed into sports activities. You get help with you get extra help for. But as soon as you start lashing out after prolonged periods of medication, you're fucking going to prison. You're getting a criminal record. Your life's over. It's just a fine line, isn't it? It's just such a fine line.
Yeah, it is. It is. But like I've said before, I mean, I really feel that with a lot of people who are in your situation in those sort of early days, there's, things that can be done differently with looking into people's talents and
Yeah,
looking into
education
people's,
system is
yeah,
massively, massive. No help for them.
no.
So,
So with fighting then, and with what you're known for now, as well as the ADHD awareness, let's talk about, anything you'd like to say about it, how you first got into it. Obviously, you've mentioned, but there's a few things here because obviously you've had some fights. You've got a big one coming up as well. You've got
yeah.
different things going on. Let's start with how many you've had altogether, because I don't actually know
All
all
right.
of
So
them.
I've had 4 fights now in
Yeah.
the space of 15 months, or
Okay.
less than that, about a year now. I've had 4 fights. So I had my first fight on the 10th of March last year in Manchester Bowlers, 3D Fight Club 1, for Dougie Joyce's promotion, against a lovely lad called Jack Burnett. We were both 0-0. We both had no fights on big pro. I've had a few fights in prison, a few fights on the streets and that. Well, I thought, yeah, I've always loved watching Bruce Lee growing up as a kid, the Power Rangers, you know, I played on all the Mortal Kombat games. These were all my heroes, you know, growing up as a kid. And I loved all the films. I'd always try and do all the moves, you know, and these tablets, when I was on them, they stopped me doing all this stuff. And yeah, I went in myself for a long time, but when I got in prison, I just nailed it all again. I soaked it all back up, and I did it in a way where it would benefit me if I ever could come home. I'd always be hitting the pads in prison and training fitness wise, and I'd always be trying to test myself in some sort of way, in a positive way, to get into my fighting. So we had Jack Burnett for the first fight. He was fighting for death cop awareness for his niece Lola that passed away. And what an incredible lad he was. What a great course, and what a lovely team he had with him. And so respectful before and after. Yeah, but I was fighting for ADHD awareness, and I got a first round knockout and knocked him clean out, knockout of the night. Boom. I broke his larynx, a bone in his neck.
Yeah.
I fractured his larynx. I popped his lip, ruptured his ear, and I think I broke his nose as well. But yeah, it was a hell of a debut, mate. Yeah, to burst on the scene like that, it couldn't have went any better. You know, it went the way I'd always pictured, like doing something like this. You know, that's why I've always did it in prison. Even though there's no light at the end of the tunnel in there, I don't know. There just must have been a ray somewhere inside me. You know. Yeah, so we got that win, and I jumped back in the ring later on that night, didn't I? Like a nutter, because I seen like something that I didn't think was. I thought he stamped on his head. To be honest, he ran over and started. And I jumped in the ring, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Telling him off. Yeah, and then Dean Lynch gave me a push around when I got outside the cage, outside the ring, and I thought, fair enough, fair enough. It's your big show. I shouldn't have jumped in. And then I soon learned that he was a bit of a bellend, like they were all a bit bellends. Yeah, there's no respect. So I don't treat him with any now, really. You get what you give in life, don't you? I give them all my respect. They treat me like dickheads. So yeah, maybe not so Dougie Joyce, you know. Dougie Joyce, you know, he didn't ever disrespect me. It was all Dean Lynch Ward, and you know, Dougie was just all right with me always, yeah. And I think I was just frustrated that it was happening, and his name was the main name, and fucking yeah, he did call me up once trying to give me a bit of shit. But anyway, enough of all him. We've moved on from him. So my second fight was against Jordan Weaver. He's a journeyman, and I say that with no disrespect intended. You know, he's a hell of a good fighter and stuff. You know, but yeah, you know, he's a good fighter, and I sound so disrespectful, but yeah, maybe I'm a journeyman. You never know. I'm a journeyman, then. You know, that's the way it is. I don't mean disrespectfully to, but I was expecting to be fighting Ben Hatchett for the belt on that fight, but he ran off to the BKB. He ran off to the BKB, and then I was supposed to be fighting Stewie Anderson, but he pulled out. He couldn't. He couldn't get there on the night. So Jordan Weaver showed up on the night. Fair play to him. And I finished him in the first. At the end of the first round, he ran to the cage door and he was sick. I missed him with the uppercut and I hit him with a body shot. And he get back, and I knew I'd really hurt him. And I said to him in there, "You all right, pal? Are you okay?" Like, because I could see he was hurt. And he went, "Yeah, I'm all right." But I knew he was hurt. I didn't want to hurt the fella because I knew I'd hurt him. I didn't want to really hurt him. But he's got a good, strong will on him, you know. And yeah, he kept going. In the end, the round stopped, and he was just sick. He probably could have continued, but I didn't want him projectiling all over me during a round, to be honest. And I think the referee felt the same as well. Yeah, so they stopped it. Yeah, so two first round stoppages now. We're flying. We're doing well. ADHD awareness. We're not that bad. We're 2-0. Yeah, so now we've got our third fight. So we were matched up against Jonathan Ronin Royal. He's a much, much bigger opponent than myself. And everyone thought I was crazy for even accepting. But I thought, you know, this is co-main event stuff now. This is big stuff now. Pay-per-views and that. My name's on the pay-per-views. I'm getting paid nice money. No one even cares if I sell a ticket or not. But I can't. I don't know how to do it. But they don't care. You know, the views are in. It's doing well, I'm thinking. And I took a massive weight increase. And 3 weeks before the fight, he pulled out. He pulled out. So they've got, right, we've got you, Stewie Anderson, will you take him? 3 weeks before this, I've been bulking up for Jonathan Royal. They told me, will I fight Stewie Anderson, who's probably the best mover and striker of the whole promotion. Yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him. I've got to go right back to the beginning now. Yeah, I'm trained for speed and fitness when I've been training for strength and power for this big unit, yeah. And on the day he pulled out, he didn't turn up. Don't care what any of them say. And Ash King's pulled out on me. A load of them are pulled out on me. And then this kid called Riley Stansby's there. And he's giving me the eyeballs. Like, I can see he can fight this kid. I can see the strength of this kid. And I said, yeah, I'll fight him. Go on then. And I said, you'll get a nice clean fight out of me. And we're co-main. You know, it's great for you, this, right? And he's with his with Paul Stansby from the Paul Stansby podcast, and his other cousin. You know, they're not a soft outfit. I'll tell you that. They're a tough nut to crack. And you know, at first I thought I lost that fight, mate. I got 4-round decision, and I got them. All the judges said I won it, yeah. But at first, when I watched the fight, when I fought the fight, after I thought I lost that fight, no way I won that, and I won it. But I thought, oh, I got smacked early in the first, yeah, and it put me down, and then I was down for 16 seconds because I could have got up sooner. But I thought, I'm taking every second I can. This is the way I do it. A tactical, smart fighter will be a crazy fighter all day, you know. So use your brain, and I stayed down. I got up, I weathered the storm, and I got through the fight, and I did well. I pressed the issue and stuff after it. But I caught him with one clean one after it, and a few little taps here and there. And I thought I lost it. I said on the interviews, I thought I lost that fight. I don't know how I got it, but I'm not a judge. I'll have to watch it back, because I had a cut inside my mouth from when he smacked me. My gum shield went through my cheek and opened my cheek up. So I had a big gash inside my cheek. And then I don't know if it was a scratch or a punch, but it opened my nose up. And in the nose, my blood was going in my eye, and I could see 2 of them. And in the middle was all blurry. And then I wiped that, and he come back together. So I thought I took a lot of damage in that fight. Not a lot, but the first smack, you know, it was a hell of a smack. It was the best smack I took in all my fights. And I got up and I went the distance. I watched the fight yesterday. I won that fight, right? I won that fight. It could have been a draw. A draw would have probably been a bit more fun, but I did win it. You know, he smacked me once good in the first, and that was it. I was just constantly on him after that. It was a bit of chasing about him after me and me after him, but then I was on him all the time. You know, I was in control of the area more than him, and that goes over damage, which I don't necessarily think should be the rules, but it is the rules, isn't it? Yeah, so I won that as well. I'm 4-0. No, 3-0. So it's 3-0 now. Nice. And I'm due a title shot against Josh Courtney on 3D Fight Club 4 for the belt, because I've been promised belts for fights now. You know what I mean? I'm going to be a champion now for the ADHD community. Come on. And I fell out with 3D Fight Club. Couldn't let him keep walking over me. Couldn't let it keep going on. Maybe, yeah, my ADHD played a massive part in it, and I am a bit fucking mental. But yeah, you know, if he would have treated me better, maybe I would have ended up being a better person for him in the end, all the way through. But in the end, it didn't work out. And then I got a Ben Hatchett fight on Bad to the Bone in Stoke, and I was like, "Go on, we'll have that. We'll take that. We'll do Ben Hatchett. We'll bury the hatchet." Yeah, and oh mate, it sounds so fucking stupid now. Pardon my language, mate. Yeah, but I thought it was a 20-second count in this promotion because where I'd been was a 20-second count. All right, and no one made me aware it was a 10-second count. All right, now if you watch the press conference, I even say to him, "Ben, you got dropped 3 times in your last fight, 20 seconds per count. So you didn't make a minute out of the first round." And they're just sitting there. None of them go to correct me. Swanee, it's a 10-second count here, mate. None of them did. No one did. And I don't care what they say. You were told in the fighter meeting. No fighter briefing meeting was done with me. Nobody told me nothing about no count. Yeah, I thought it was a 20-second count. I thought that was a rule in bare knuckle across the board. You know, now I know it's different promotions have different rules. That's a bit fucked up, innit? You know what I mean? Anyway, I've got to take this on board that it was a mistake that I did, yeah, and that's why I didn't go spitting my dummy out after it like an infant. I accept it. This is what happens in life. Do you know what I mean? We have to accept that things just don't go fucking fairly, yeah. Or I didn't ask the question. They didn't have to tell me. They're building Ben Hatchett up, aren't they? You know, he's fighting for the Charles Bronson belt on there now. That's going to get some fuck. You know, this is probably what they was intending. We'll take the Swan out on the back of that. We'll do that, you know, with you, Ben. We won't tell him the count because we know he fights smartly with his intelligent, like, fight IQ. He likes to brag about. Yeah, that's the only way I can see it all. I actually missed the briefing, and they actually just didn't get onto it in the press conference, you know, which in that case Ben wouldn't be running from me now and saying I did do you like that and all this. When he said to me after the fight, I could have fell foul to that myself. Well, no, you couldn't have fell foul to that yourself, could you, Ben? Because you knew the rules. Do you know what I mean? So it's all a bit stinky to me. But yeah, into the first round, he caught me with a swipe on the chin. He buckled my legs. So I took the count. I thought I'll take as long as I can here now to get my breath back. And when I was down, like I was winking at the referee to say I'm all right. Like, and I still knew I needed a bit more time on my breath. And then he's waved off. And I've got to say, what are you doing? You know? And he was like, no, fighter briefing. Now, when I stood up, my balance was off a little bit, but I still managed to track the referee down fine and put him that. Do you know what I'm saying? All right. So it would have still been a pretty dangerous point for me to stand up, but no way was I out and done. Not a way, shape, or form. All right. And I'm not going to take anything away from Ben. He's a good fighter. He's a hell of a fighter, in fact. But I know I can beat him. I know I can beat him. I know I can. I had a bad evening, you know, in the office, which does happen. I've had it twice. No, I wouldn't say. I've had one bad day in the office, really. You know, my first 3 fights, you know, that Riley Stansby's a hell of a tough lad. He's well tougher than Ben. I don't care what anyone says. You know, he is. He's well tougher than Ben. That swipe across my chin off Ben was a good swipe. It was a good swipe, but it's not enough. He'd have to land it fucking proper flush on the button to put me down for long enough, you know, without me getting up and carrying on. But, you know, if I win my next fight against Eye Opener, Spartan Wars 14, Bradford, June the 24th. You never know. Ben Hatchett might just, his ears might perk up again. You know what I mean? He might be sick and tired of me saying this shit, you know? And he might want to just put it to bed once and for all, because I know I fucking would. You know, we're both about the same age. We can both come into the same parts of our thing. He's only a fight or two ahead of me, you know. Both he's got a hell of a good following. I've got mine's growing, you know, it's getting there. So maybe after this fight we can get it back on. There's good numbers, and if I win, we could get another one on. It'll be a trilogy then, wouldn't it? It'd make for exciting stuff. But I know he's got his Charles Bronson title. I don't know if they've got me in mind for it as a backup or something. I don't know. I doubt it, but yeah, I'm always there ready for the call for him any day of the week.
Absolutely amazing. Well, what a journey you've been on. I mean,
Yeah,
if anyone can turn their life around, I mean, that shows how you can turn your life around, and the success you've been having, absolutely incredible. Once again, massive respect on that, because it just shows people what's possible, with hard work, belief, dedication, all the good things. And I've got to say with that as well, some of the stories, like some of the behind the scenes of some of the fights and like what happened, super cool, because the fans don't see that, so they're hearing
yeah,
it from
man.
you. Amazing. So yeah, June 24th. Obviously, if anyone who's watching this later, then obviously we're talking in April. But looking into like rematch with Ben, amazing. Looking past that a little bit, like some of your ambitions in fighting, going a little bit further forward, like the dream, because you've been to hell and back. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And now you're
Thank you.
having, success. You're showing people what's possible. So, map this forward, maybe like a year or something, or
Yeah.
however long you want to go. Where do you want to be?
Right. Well, I need a title. Yeah, I need a title. You know, I want to get like I was gonna quit. I was gonna quit because it was a bad time for me. The way I lost, everybody was trolling me, and they were like, "You took a knee," you know, and it's the worst way you can lose, you know. And I didn't take no fucking knee. I'd never take a knee. Pardon my language, you know. Um, and a lot of personal problems, and then I get ill from time to time, and I make irrational decisions and that, and I thought it's making me poorly again. I'm gonna give it a break. I'm gonna quit. Yeah. And then I thought, no, I'm not actually gonna quit. I'm gonna give it one more shot. So I'm gonna give it one more go now. Right. They took me out in that fashion. It went in that fashion. Right. So now I'm giving it one more shot. And if I lose again now, it's over. I'm just gonna call it a day. I'm gonna find something else to do other than bare knuckle, because it does take mentally straining on my mental, and it's straining on my ADHD and my mental health. So I'm just gonna give it one more go for the ADHD community, for myself, for everyone who's been loyal to me. I'm gonna be loyal to them and give it everything one last go now. Yeah. And there'll be no excuses, I'll be always asking the right questions, and yeah, we'll get the answers soon enough. I ain't gonna stop till I lose. All right. And I want a belt. I want a belt. I'm gonna take care of eye opener. I want to get hold of Ben Hatchett. And I know there's a lot of respectful lads at Sparta Wars. And I'm sure that they might be able to pull a few strings and get the Swan a title shot. If he does well in this next fight, if I do really well, and then even if we get Ben on, and then I can go for the title shot. There's definitely got to be there will be a title shot on the horizon, because I'm only planning on winning, and I want a title pretty soon. This year's got to be a title shot. There's got to be. YouTube Wars as well. I'm working with YouTube Wars, Simon from YouTube Wars as well. And he's working with Christian from Sparta Wars. They're collaborating, and they're thinking about an ADHD title there as well, a title there, because I'm going to be performing on the first one. And that gives me a chance to win the title, doesn't it, on the first show. And I've said to him, like, come on, it's got to be a title for the ADHD community now. I've done a lot for them fucking for the YouTube and stuff, and it's YouTube Wars, and he agrees. So there will be a title shot. There will be a title, but it all depends on if I'll be eye opener and stuff like that, you know. So if I lose, it's over, because you can't bounce back from that again. I can't bounce back from another one like I never lost. Eye opener beats me. That's it. You know, I'll be a journeyman, not a champion, and I've got to be realistic. And we want to recapture that first debut knockout again. I'm going to recapture that glory, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, what I'll say, I mean, the future is very, very bright.
Yeah.
There's some big fights out there, and at the end of the day, you know, you've just always got to remember the impact you're having on people and how you're, you know, contributing to people's lives in a positive way through the messages you're putting out there. So keep that up, whatever happens, you win, lose, or draw. But you know, I hope you get the win. Now, I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass. In about 10 minutes, I'm gonna have to shoot off and everything, because we've been talking so much, but it's a good thing because
Yeah,
when I
man.
do these interviews, the way you've spoken from the heart and everything, and
Thank you so much.
I love it because, you know, people don't want to hear scripted stuff. They want to hear the real deal of like
Yeah,
what you're
man.
really feeling. So the last thing I just want to say to you before I have to shoot off is just people want to reach out with you. People want to connect with you. Now, some people will know about your story, but some people will be hearing this for the first time. So if anybody does want to, you know, get in touch with you, follow the journey, please give a shout out where they can find you, and also please give a shout out to your fans and you know what it means to them that they sort of follow your journey and they're involved with you and everything, you know.
Thank you so much. And you can follow my journey on YouTube at the Swan ADHD. My Facebook, I do think I only have YouTube and Facebook. It's Gord Watts. And yeah, there's just stuff about my fights on there and a bit more like that. But mainly it's my YouTube. So, and it's a load of content about ADHD. I don't sugarcoat nothing, you know. That's why I try to give it as real as I can and as honest as I can, because that's the best to be, you know, honest and real and transparent. And then, you know, I can get as much help and get as much criticism and give as much. And this is where the real stuff is for ADHD, I believe. There's a big network of people and my ADHD brothers and sisters. I'd like to thank you all for helping me, supporting me, yourself so much. It's been amazing, this podcast. It really has. You've nearly had me in tears, but I'm smiling at the end and I'm really happy. And I've not done a podcast like it. It's been dead nice and warming and it feels great, yeah. And it feels good, like I'm giving something back. So thank you so much. And yeah, you can be anything you just want to be, you know, with hard work. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. And all I can say is, you know, right back at you on that one. Thank you for being an open book. You know, thank you for putting your story out there. You know, sharing some wisdom that the people can use. And those kind words, you know, they mean a lot. And it's nice because people do say, you know, lovely things about the podcast. People say that they enjoy the experience on here. I never expect that. So every time people say it, you know, it's really
Yeah.
nice to hear it.
I
So
was a bit nervous at the beginning. Sorry to interrupt you, but like you're a very, very good host. Like very good at it, what you do, and that's probably why you're growing and you're so successful so fast. And I don't like to do stuff like this because I get nervous and that. But the way you approached me, everything, mate, yeah, very, very professional, you know. And anytime I'd be more than welcome to jump on and a year's down or whatever. Yeah, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful to the ADHD community, to you, Liam. Thank you so much. Liam Hartley's the best.
oh, thank you, mate. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Thank you. And yeah, you know, a few more fights down the line, we'll do this again, 100%.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.